Madeline Harper, a wealthy and high-powered CEO from New York, found herself unexpectedly stranded on a lonely countryside road just as the sun began to set. Her luxury black car had suddenly broken down, leaving her disconnected from the world, no signal, no GPS, and no clue what to do next. Dressed in elegant designer clothes and heels, Madeline looked completely out of place against the rural backdrop. Frustrated and increasingly anxious, she stepped out of the car, glaring at the sky and nervously checking her phone as if a miracle would appear on the screen. As the wind picked up dust from the road, a figure emerged in the distance, quietly and without hurry. It was a barefoot farmer, weathered and humble, pulling a wooden cart filled with sacks of grain. His clothes were old and worn, his hands rough from years of labor, but his eyes were kind and calm. He didn't rush, didn't speak at first, just gave a gentle nod as he approached, observing the scene with a quiet understanding. Madeline stared at him, uncertain. She wasn't used to needing help, especially not from someone so far removed from her world. And yet, here they were, two people from completely different lives, brought together by a moment neither of them could have planned. The farmer paused, looked at her car, and then at her, sensing her discomfort but not judging it. Without asking for anything in return, he simply said, "Looks like you could use a hand." Eli, the barefoot farmer with sun-worn skin and gentle eyes, approached Madeline with quiet confidence. "Car trouble, ma'am?" he asked with a soft smile. Madeline glanced at him, hesitant and guarded. His appearance didn't match the kind of person she was used to trusting: worn clothes, dusty feet, a cart that creaked with age. Still, she gave a small nod. Without waiting for more, Eli set down his cart and walked over to the car, rolling up his sleeves as he peered under the hood. His hands moved with practiced ease, revealing a skill that surprised her. She watched silently, unsure whether to speak or step back. As he worked, Eli pulled out a tin jug and offered her some cool water. When he noticed the sun beating down on her, he gently placed his straw hat over her head. It was old and faded, but it shielded her face, an act of kindness that left her momentarily speechless. "I don't have money to pay you," she said after a pause, her tone still edged with formality. Eli simply smiled and replied, "I'm not helping for money. Sometimes, you help because it's right." His words cut through the noise in her mind. No business angle. No agenda. Just human decency. And in that quiet moment, something in Madeline began to shift, not just her opinion of Eli, but of everything she thought she understood about kindness, dignity, and connection. With the car still cooling and the engine part settling into silence, Eli led Madeline to the shade of a nearby tree. They sat on the grass, her in her expensive clothes, him in his worn shirt and dusty trousers. Two very different lives momentarily paused in the same quiet space. The air was still, the golden sky glowing through the branches, and for the first time in a long while, Madeline wasn't in control. She wasn't thinking about meetings or mergers. She was just still. After a long silence, she turned to Eli and asked, "Why are you so kind to me? You don't even know me." Her voice was softer now, stripped of the edge she'd worn all day. Eli looked out at the open fields before answering. "My wife passed last year," he said gently, a touch of pain still fresh in his eyes. "She always said, never let anyone leave your path worse than they came. That's the kind of woman she was. I just try to keep her words alive." Madeline didn't respond right away. His story, so simple and sincere, pierced something in her. It had been years since anyone had spoken to her without expectation. No flattery, no deals, just truth. In that moment, sitting under a tree beside a stranger who gave without asking, Madeline felt something shift. For the first time in years, she wasn't a CEO with walls around her heart, she was simply human, and she was listening. As night fell and the air turned cooler, Eli gave the engine one last firm tap and turned the key. With a cough and a low rumble, the car roared to life. Madeline's eyes widened in disbelief. She had spent a fortune on luxury, yet it was this humble man, without tools, without payment, who got her moving again. "How do you know so much about cars?" she asked, still stunned. Eli wiped his hands on his trousers and shrugged modestly. "I used to be a mechanic," he said. "Worked in a garage for 15 years. Gave it up to care for my wife when she got sick. After she passed, I came back to the land. It's quieter here." Madeline didn't speak at first. She looked at him, really looked. Past the dirt and the sweat, and into the strength and kindness that radiated from his story. For the first time, she saw not just a man who helped her, but someone with purpose, resilience, and depth. "Eli," she said, stepping forward with a sincerity she rarely used, "I run one of the largest farm tech companies in the country. We need people who understand the land, and people like you. I want you on my team." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Ma'am, I'm just a farmer." She smiled, unwavering. "No, Eli. You're the kind of person the world needs more of." And for the first time in a long while, Eli didn't doubt it. 1 year later, the countryside looked different, but not because the land had changed. It was Eli who had brought it to life. Now dressed in clean work clothes and wearing a quiet pride, he managed Madeline's rural outreach program, teaching farmers how to use sustainable methods and modern tools while preserving the soul of the land. The fields thrived, and so did the people. Children ran around the modern farmhouse that now served as a training hub. Laughter filled the air, and hope was rooted deeper than any crop. Eli was no longer a forgotten farmer on a dusty road, he was a leader, a mentor, and a symbol of what humanity looks like when compassion leads. Madeline visited often. Gone were the heels and tailored suits, she wore boots, jeans, and a peaceful smile. She walked beside Eli, listening, learning, and blending into the world she once knew nothing about. She hadn't just found help that day on the road, she had found perspective. Maybe even healing. Eli's late wife's words still echoed in every seed they planted, in every hand they reached for. Madeline had built empires, but here, in the simple wisdom of one man's kindness, she had discovered the kind of wealth money couldn't touch. Sometimes, the richest people are the ones who give, not the ones who have. And the roads we break down on might just lead us exactly where we're meant to be.